19 points and 14 rebounds for Lauren Betts. The Bruins have won 21 straight. If they beat USC next Sunday, they'll be the first Big Ten.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the art of conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. KBLA Talk 1580. It's Moving Mountain Mondays, and on Moving Mountain Mondays, our very special regular contributor is Ernest Krim. Ernest is an Emmy-nominated producer, public teacher, anti-racist educator, and hate crime victor who uses Black historical narratives to empower and educate through a culturally equitable lens. Mr. Krim, a South Side of Chicago native and University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign graduate, is a former high school history teacher of 12 years who now also advocates for social justice issues and teaches Black history to the world through social media with a platform that reaches roughly 4 million people each month. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hey, what's up, my brother? It is truly a pleasure and honor to be here with you today. I'm excited to have this conversation with you and to continue to learn in such a pivotal moment.
You are the future, brother. Make no mistake about that. I am particularly honored in this particular hour that Rabbi Stephen B. Jacobs has participated in a variety of important historical events, and he's going to be our very special guest as well. In 2001, he was awarded the Walter Cronkite Faith and Freedom Award. Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, who would go on to found the Progressive Faith Foundation, began preaching on the values of racial tolerance and interfaith acceptance in the 1960s, drawing the attention of Reverend Jesse Jackson in 1967. Reverend Jackson introduced him to Martin Luther King Jr. Rabbi Stephen B. Jacobs and King once walked hand in hand during a march for civil rights. I'll have much more about Rabbi Stephen Jacobs over the course of the hour. Rabbi, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
And not being here with all of you. This is an important time, the most important time, given the challenges that we're facing.
I'm so glad that you're with us, Rabbi. And I also want to thank Dr. Lamel McMorris, a nationally recognized leader at the intersection of business, justice, and social impact, and the author of The Power to Persist, 8 Simple Habits to Build Lifelong Resilience. In his debut book, Dr. McMorris shares the mindset and the habits that fueled his rise from Chicago's South Side to the national stage, offering readers a practical blueprint for turning strategies into opportunities and pressure into purpose. Lamel McMorris is also one of my father's assistants, closest and dearest friends. We were all like interns at the feet of Jesse Jackson, and I just don't know any person in our generation who's traveled more or spent more time with Reverend Jesse Jackson than Dr. Lamel McMorris. Dr. McMorris, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I can laugh and chuckle again as I teased him about his being an alumnus of North Carolina A&T, yet his grandson is a proud student at Morehouse College, my alma mater. So we shared a tremendous amount, but the bottom line is I learned. I learned what it meant to be an advocate. I learned what it meant to be determined doggedly. I learned what it meant to have a work ethic. I learned what it meant to be focused. And then finally, mine was what people don't realize, a full circle moment. I am a child of Rainbow Push. My application for Morehouse College was FedExed by Reverend Tyrone Crider from the Rainbow Push offices. I am a recipient of scholarships to finish college and graduate school because of Reverend Willie Taplin Barrow. So for me, it's not just my proximity to Reverend Jesse L. Jackson and traveling and being his assistant, but it, frankly, Rabbi, it was the evolution of a journey, of a life's work, working in and around and coming through Rainbow Push. And Rabbi, you and I would not know each other, but for my time with Reverend Jesse. You and I are approaching our 30th anniversary of friendship because of Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr.
And just before I do have Rabbi Stephen Jacobs' comment, I have to come forward, which is our break right here at KBLA. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, more on the reflections of the life on this, the week where the funeral services of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, commemorations across the country will begin. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. It's Ernest Krim's show and Dr. Lamel McMorris. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Moving Mountain Mondays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are in Mr. Krim's classroom, and our very special guest, in addition to Lamel McMorris, whom you just heard from, includes Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, who came to the attention of Reverend Jesse Jackson in the 1960s. But in 1967, Reverend Jackson introduced him to Martin Luther King Jr. Rabbi Stephen Jacobs and King once walked hand in hand during the March for Civil Rights. Reverend Jackson and Rabbi Stephen Jacobs had become great friends, and Reverend Jackson invited him on an array of interfaith peace missions to Middle Eastern countries, such as Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. He met with numerous high-level authorities, including Yasser Arafat and the leaders of the Hamas political party. In 1999, he and Reverend Jackson traveled as part of an interfaith delegation to Yugoslavia to discuss the release of American prisoners of war. The mission endeavored to meet with Slobodan Milosevic, the president of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia at the time. And although some members of the Jewish community objected to negotiations with Milosevic, whom they believed to be guilty of crimes against humanity, he drew upon his dedication to improving the state of the world and participated in the mission nonetheless. He was successful in securing the release of the American soldiers. Today, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs continues his commitment to bringing people of different races, religions together. He established the Progressive Faith Foundation to focus on connecting the people of the Abrahamic faith, Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, it is my high honor to welcome you forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. To be part of the Jesse Jackson family is the greatest honor of my life.
Rabbi Jacobs, this is the longest segment that we have in our show, and I know that you're going to be with me for the full 2 hours. I'd like you to take your time and share with Dr. McMorris and Professor Krim and our audience your reflections on the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Well, let me start by saying that the journey that Dr. Lamel McMorris and I share is one that's an historical journey together. The love that we share, not only for Reverend Jackson, but for humanity, and our deep relationship with Lamel and my wife, not as an aside, who's running for governor of California. But I want to start by saying something that has been controversial, but I stand up against it. I've known, as you have said, Reverend Jackson for 40 years, since the 60s. And I want to say unequivocally that there's not an anti-Semitic bone in his body. And we lived through accusations, etc. But I know well from the inside what Reverend Jackson is about. His cooperation with the Jewish community, standing up for Russian refuseniks, to getting them out of Russia. Our meeting with Milosevic, which was troublesome from the Jewish community. And I just want to say that in our Jewish tradition, it's permissible to negotiate with an evil dictator in order to free captives. The Talmud, our rich religious tradition, describes being a prisoner as the hardest of all suffering, teaching that we Jews could even sell a Torah scroll to fulfill the act of redeeming the captive. And that was hand in hand with Reverend Jesse Jackson and all of our travels, with Arafat, with Assad, going to Lebanon, meeting with the leaders of Israel. So there's so much that I could share, but most of all, and I remember very clearly as I'm thinking about it in the election with Gore, that when it was thrown into doubt, and Reverend Jackson and I and others traveled up and down Florida, the Jewish community came out. They just loved him and they supported him. So I just wanted to start with these statements that I know intimately.
Professor Krim, we have two distinguished scholars who are a part of our program today, both with an intimate knowledge of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. On this, the week that Reverend Jesse Jackson will lie in state at Operation Push, 930 East 50th Street in Chicago, Illinois. Ernest, any thoughts for Rabbi Jacobs as well as Dr. Lamel McMorris?
You know, I think just initially it's a pleasure to be with two individuals, besides yourself, of course, who saw his maturation over time. And as you know, oftentimes when we sit together in community, there are times where we engage in a conversation, and there are times where I sit back and I soak it all in. I would just like to add, because I know we haven't had a chance to talk on the show since his untimely passing, and I was just thinking about how Reverend Jackson, to us as a millennial, for one, he was a mentor that I never got a chance to meet. He was an extension of our family. I often heard his voice echoing through my house. That I Am Somebody was often played, you know, and I was just telling the audience recently, I don't know how we had access to it, because again, this wasn't the day and age where streaming sites and things.
I think that we've lost Ernest for just a moment on a technical question.
In combination with the affirmations that my parents frequently gave me, helped me understand that despite what we're going through in this country as Black folks, that we are actually somebody and we are capable of achieving things. And something else too that I think is worth noting. You know, when we grow up, go to school, we are told that when there's an emergency, that we should dial 911. And I think I speak for a lot of Black folks, especially millennials, who can attest to this. When we were growing up, when we heard of a racial injustice, we were taught that you need to find a way to call Reverend Jesse Jackson. and I can actually attest to this in several ways, because even my wife, who I didn't meet until college, tells me a story of how when she was growing up and going to a school where she was the minority, there was a situation with a teacher where her mom literally went to the school and threatened them to say, look, if y'all don't rectify this, I will call Jesse Jackson, I will call the NAACP, and we're gonna get this school shut down. I think that speaks to the reputation of a man who built a legacy of standing up for people, and not just of our community, but all backgrounds, because he truly loved his people. And I will never forget seeing those tears shed when Obama was elected. And I think that encapsulates so much too of who he was, because with all the things he did over his career in the spotlight, he was also a bridge builder. And there are so many things that he did to usher in a new generation of political advocacy and social equity that I don't even think we truly understand and realize. And I think through this time period, hopefully folks in my generation as millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, can truly understand just how much of a giant he was. And I'm looking forward to hearing and learning more about maybe some of the untold stories that most of the public aren't aware of just how great he was as a public servant.
Lamel McMorris, Jesse Jackson as a as a dispatcher, as a 911 operator. Lamel McMorris.
Yeah, I smiled at that because you can really and I smiled listening to Mr. Krim. You can really tell a tree by the fruit it bears, and not only am I an example of the folks that Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. mentored and shaped, but so many countless women and men who serve in state legislators and city councils and in the federal government and who've worked in and around the White House. And if you've worked in the automotive industry, the marketing industry, and on anywhere on financial services and around Wall Street, in the oil industry, in the entertainment industry, he touched everything. And the beautiful thing, as I reflect more and more, is this whole notion of being able to walk with queens and kings and yet not lose the common touch. People forget Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson lived on the south side of Chicago, not in the suburbs. And whether he was on the south side of Chicago or steps away from Howard University and the Shaw community, he had this remarkable ability, literally, Rabbi, to sit with kings and queens and yet walk the streets of Watts, walk the streets of Southwest Atlanta, walk through Harlem, USA, walk to Palestine, walk to Britain, walk through Soweto and South Africa. He could literally go and do and be among all the people. And that is not something that we should take for granted. That is a unique gift. I still have, to Mr. Krim's point, one day, Jesse Jr., the rabbi, the three of us are going to write a book, another book. I still have most, if not all, of my schedules and itineraries when I traveled with Reverend Jackson. I think people would be amazed. They would be amazed to see a schedule: LA, New York, South Africa, back to Chicago, back to New York, Washington, D.C. And this was all within a little over 72 hours. People have no idea the work ethic of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. And to be anywhere in the ethos of that example, you can't help but be better, Rabbi.
Rabbi, I'd love for you to respond to that, but I do want to ask this question of the rabbi, in that we have 4 minutes or 3.5 minutes before we come forward. Rabbi, Reverend Jackson insisted on members of the Abrahamic faith on these rescue missions, both in Syria, both in Yugoslavia, both in Cuba. Whenever I traveled with that, and I was there when he secured the release of Robert Goodman, he took Muslims, Christians, and Jews. He brought people together, and he delivered that message to the clergy within the countries that he arrived as a foundation for any discussions, negotiations, or moral appeals with the leadership. Rabbi Jacobs?
Well, you've stated it very clearly about his magnetism and his insights and his brilliance in bringing people together. Even when people may have disagreed with him, when we sat in the same room, something happened. There were so many magical moments. I remember when he confronted Assad with what was going on in Syria, when we met with Arafat, and he challenged Arafat and came very, very close to getting Arafat to make a statement on nonviolence. But from what we know, Arafat came very close to the negotiations for a peace deal with Israel. But my understanding through our discussions is that he turned very cold because he thought that he would be assassinated like Sadat, and pulled away from it and regretted it deeply. The moments that were so serious, that were so intense, meeting with Milosevic, when the State Department, including the Secretary of State, tried to prevent us from going to meet with Milosevic to secure the release of the 3 American soldiers. Jesse wouldn't have any of that. It didn't matter. Bill Clinton was a little bit hesitant because of Madeleine Albright to have us go, but Reverend Jackson and Bill Clinton knew the power of Jesse Jackson Sr. more than even Clinton. And so we finally went after being detained in Washington, D.C. for a week and met and secured. And nobody could have met with Milosevic and gained the release except for Jesse Jackson Sr. Milosevic, it was being bombed. Our hotel was being bombed. But nobody could have accomplished the release of the soldiers like Jesse Jackson. Not Madeleine Albright, not President Bill Clinton, not anybody.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are reflecting upon not only the domestic work of Reverend Jesse Jackson, we're also reflecting upon the international work, the thought, the creativity that an African-American son of the South would use in negotiating the release of foreign leaders, American prisoners, hostages, and beyond. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More on Mr. Krim's Classroom when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says lower courts will decide whether tariff refunds are issued after the Supreme Court struck down most of President Trump's global tariffs.
What the Supreme Court did was a very narrow reading of the president's authority.
Bessent made the comments while speaking on CNN's State of the Union after the justices ruled the president overstepped his authority by imposing the tariffs without Congress. On this day in 2020, a young black man was killed while jogging through his Georgia neighborhood in a case that later sparked national outrage. Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed in Brunswick by two white men. Arrests were not made until months later after cell phone video of the shooting surfaced online. And Tampa, Florida is adding 10 new markers to its 46-mile Soul Walk Trail, highlighting Black history. The additions honor key people and places, including Claxton Manor Motel and International Longshoremen's Association, Local 1402. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the Kilo of Gold giveaway. Drawings every Thursday in February. Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the easiest drive from downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There are now 9 statues outside Crypto.com Arena in downtown LA honoring legends associated with the Lakers franchise. Pat Riley, the architect of the Lakers Showtime era in the 80s, was in town Sunday to see the unveiling of his statue before the Lakers-Boston game. Riley's statue was placed right between statues honoring Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. During Riley's 10 seasons as Lakers head coach, he led the team to 4 NBA championships and 7 NBA finals. Riley's .733 winning percentage and 102 playoff wins as a coach are NBA records. The 80-year-old Riley is in his 19th season as president and general manager of the Miami Heat. The other Lakers statues outside Crypto.com, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Chick Hearn, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and a statue honoring Kobe and his daughter Gigi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. Let's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach.
Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu, the daytime coughing, aching fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Just a little bit of housekeeping. My father will lie in repose this coming Thursday at 930 East 50th Street from 10 to 10 p.m. in the city of Chicago at Operation Push's national headquarters, national and international headquarters, 930 East 50th Street in the city of Chicago. Shortly thereafter, because my mother does not fly and does not like to fly, my father will be driven from the city of Chicago to Louisville, Kentucky, and then on to Columbia, South Carolina, where the state legislature and the people of South Carolina are welcoming one of their favorite sons home, where he will lie in repose, and the details of what may take place in Columbia, South Carolina, and in the state of South Carolina are still in development. But my mother has decided that we are taking Interstate 65 South to 64 East for 12 hours with a flight layover in Louisville, Kentucky, to bring Dad home for the final time to South Carolina. After the lying in repose in the state of South Carolina, we will then move on to Washington, D.C., where the details have yet to be discussed and publicly made for the appropriate remembrances of Jesse Jackson in Washington, D.C., and then he will be flown back to the city of Chicago for his final homegoing services. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest on Mr. Krim's Classroom on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show is none other than Dr. Lamel McMorris and Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rabbi Jacobs, I make the distinction in this question about government to government relations to break the tensions between two nations or multiple nations, and the unique diplomacy of Jesse Jackson that you engaged in with him, and so did Dr. McMorris. Dad was determined that people-to-people diplomacy could work separate and independent from institutional government leaders who often find themselves trapped and limited by the institutions that they actually represent. Secretaries of state could not engage in people-to-people diplomacy. The uniqueness, Rabbi Jacobs, of Reverend Jackson's approach, your approach, and Dr. McMorris's approach to this kind of diplomacy.
If America thinks that we would have made progress without Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. in terms of not only releasing soldiers, but in negotiating relationships, we would be a much poorer nation. What I learned over the decades is that Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jackson, was able to do something as an NGO that the government couldn't do. And if government only ran the affairs of international and national politics, we would be a much poorer nation. And while Reverend Jackson may have been a threat to certain governmental leaders, others really relied on him privately. I honestly believe that President Bill Clinton relied on Jesse Jackson Sr. to accomplish the things that the president could not get done. And in travels all over the world, our government officials, wouldn't sit down with people in other nations. I remember that Reverend Jackson, way back when, said we should negotiate for oil in countries closer to us and not the debacle we have with the present president. And so his voice, his action, his fortitude, his power was transformative. He's one of the most transformative figures in modern America.
Lamel, Reverend Jackson went right to the people and bypassed the government after he negotiated his way out of the United States so that he could return. The Abrahamic faith, Jews, Christians, Muslims, always part of an ecumenical delegation that sought on the ground to meet with other ecumenical delegations to loosen up, if you will, the hardened thinking before he met with those leaders to share with them that people to people could get things done in ways that governments couldn't. Dr. McMorris?
Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. would say, we live in our faith, but we live under the law. We cannot forget the theological and religious underpinnings of everything that Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. did. He lived very clearly with the thinking, the biblical thinking, here am I, send me. And if his sin, chief sin, was that of ambition, the audacity to believe that he could run for president, the audacity to believe that he could negotiate and then free prisoners overseas held captive, that is built on a calling, a firm and clear calling to serve all of humanity that extends beyond the laws of nations. That is a higher calling, if you will. And he lived in that biblical ambition and tradition.
Can I just add something about the biblical tradition, which, Lamel, you just touched me deeply. In the ancient world, the prophet Micah, he's most quoted because he said, it's incumbent upon us to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God. If the prophet Micah had never said that, it would have been written and said by the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr.
Amen.
I'm thinking that much of what we've seen, Rabbi Jacobs, internationally in terms of Jesse Jackson's work, which really has never been reported or talked about, he used the same methodology and approach to domestic relations between different cultures, different religions, and different races as well. Rabbi Jacobs?
He brought people together way back when, and it's still very prevalent today, the assault against Blacks, Asians, and in particular, those in the Muslim community. He included in all of our trips a leading Muslim spokesman, a scholar, who we was able to take into the meeting with Milosevic. And this Muslim confronting Milosevic, another Muslim, and said, "You have killed millions, you're another Hitler." And Reverend Jackson just supported that. And Milosevic had nowhere to go with that except to respond to Reverend Jackson and release the soldiers, which nobody else was able to do.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Two of my father's closest and dearest friends, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs and Dr. Lamel McMorris, are on Ernest Krim's classroom as we commemorate the life of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
He's the son of a school teacher and Navy veteran who built a company worth billions and walked away from it. Tom Steyer, pledging to give away half of everything he earned to charity and fight for Californians. So when out-of-state corporations weren't paying their fair share of taxes, Tom Steyer led the fight for Prop 39 and won, earning California billions of dollars for our schools. Tom took on big oil to stop them polluting our air and water and smash them. Tom fought for free school lunches so no child goes hungry. Tom Steyer, strong enough to take on the special interests crushing us with the cost of living. As governor, Tom will stop Wall Street from buying up middle-class homes, lower utility rates by 25%, and ban corporate PAC money from our politics. Other politicians talk. Tom Steyer gets it done. Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized, the families who watched their inheritance disappear, the wealth that never had a chance to grow. because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the art of conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat. KBLA Talk 1580. Download that.
For an hour, we've been in conversation with Mr. Ernest Krim in his classroom and our very special guest, Dr. Lamel McMorris, a personal assistant, aide, and mentee of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, as well as longtime, multi-decade friend of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ernest, as the millennial on our program, I'm going to leave you the final 3 minutes of this hour because Rabbi Jacobs is going to be with me for the next hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. So the word of hope, Ernest, does belong to you. But I did want to ask Rabbi Jacobs and then get Lamel's comments before we get to the word of hope on this question. Rabbi, when you went to meet with these foreign leaders, you had no land to trade. You had no money to trade. You had no political favors to trade. In a real sense, Rabbi and Lamel, you were both without portfolio as you began these negotiations, simply armed with truth and moral authority. Why don't we begin with Rabbi Jacobs? How did you guys negotiate the release of people without portfolio?
Well, I will go back biblically and tell you that Moses had no portfolio either, confronting Pharaoh. And Pharaoh finally succumbed to the challenges. Moses had no portfolio. He just had his passion. It was the same with Jesse Jackson Sr. And so the Israelites were able to leave Egypt. Now, I want to tell you a story. When the Israelites approached the Red Sea, they were all scared. They wanted to go back. At least they could get 3 meals back in Egypt. But there was one leader that stepped into the Red Sea, Nachshon, and the seas opened up. That was Jesse Jackson Sr. No portfolio, could split the Red Sea, could confront pharaohs all over the world and walk away with victory. I want to say something also very personal about his impact. While we're talking about world leaders, when President Clinton got into trouble with Monica Lewinsky, and everybody knew the tension between President Clinton and Hillary, who was the first person that they asked to come and to meet with them privately to deal with this greatest challenge facing it? It was Jesse Jackson Sr., Reverend Jackson, who, with the portfolio of love, friendship, and transformative qualities, met with them. Whether it was world leaders, whether it was in personal relationships, he was able to do, without portfolio, accomplish more than anybody could have ever imagined.
I might add that Dad was a pastoral counselor, and
That's right.
He never shared the details of their private relationship and what he did to comfort both of them with the public. Lamel?
That's very important to understand what he did privately with people's lives.
He took it to the grave.
Yep.
Lamel, your thoughts on the international efforts of Jesse Jackson and the private efforts of Jesse Jackson in this counseling area without portfolio?
What a brilliant lesson for young people and students around the globe. Love really does conquer all. But more importantly to that, it's this notion of the power of building strong relationships, not networking, the exchange of business cards between individuals, very cursory, surface level, but the ability of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. to set the example of what it means to literally love the hell out of people. The ability to literally cultivate deep and sustaining relationships that go far beyond portfolio, that go far beyond agency, that go far beyond titles, that yield the result that those who allegedly were supposed to be able to get these things done could not do, but he had a higher calling on his life and ability to execute.
Our final word of hope comes from our professor in this particular classroom, Professor Ernest Krim. Ernest, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I want to thank you all again for the wisdom and the insight over the course of this past hour. And as someone who often speaks with kids in our community, you know, I can say I've learned a lot more about Reverend Jesse Jackson that I can give to them and carry on his legacy. What I want to give to people in closing is I want them to remember that at one point in time, Reverend Jesse Jackson was a young man. He was a college student who spent his first year at my alma mater, in fact. He was a young man with ambition, and he decided to make a decision to take a stand at a time when it was not popular. He could have done anything else. He was a star athlete, in fact. And I know for a lot of parents who are listening and educators, we have those kids in our life who have those leadership skills. I am urging you not to forget that our kids are more than athletes. And oftentimes those athletic skills are a stepping stone to something greater, such as the case with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I want them to understand that the intangibles that he had were things that you don't gain by becoming an elected official or by getting a promotion. He was a people person. He was someone who was molded in the community and molded and mentored by the greats in our legacy. And if we want our children to become what many might say is the next Reverend Jesse Jackson, we have to make sure they are surrounded by those who can mentor them and keep them honest and make sure they get in the tutelage that they probably won't receive in school. I think one of the other things I'm reflecting on is we might have a tendency to say who's going to be next. And I challenge us all to look in our communities and look at those young folks who have those leadership skills, because just like I told you at the beginning, when we would refer to Reverend Jesse Jackson as the 911 dispatch call when we were in need, every single one of our communities, whether the town is 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, or 1 million, should have those we can rely on. And not just one person, though, a collective of us. And I think that is what this moment in time is urging us all to do. We are in the same time period, the same type of movement, the same types of issues that molded him and forced him to step up. So in closing, I would just say, who's next? And I think the answer should be the collective.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest, who will be with us for the remaining hour in the next hour with Reverend Teresa Hort Owens, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, a close and dear friend for more than 4 decades of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. We're grateful that Dr. Lamel McMorris, a young protege and mentee of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the author of The Power to Persist. It's got to be heading towards the general direction of bestseller at this point in its movement. Lamel, so grateful that you've been on the program with us. And Ernest Krim, look forward to spending more time with you next Monday. Our show will probably be broadcast right here on KBLA, but from South Carolina. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Rabbi Stephen Jacobs and Reverend Teresa Hort Owens when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says lower courts will decide whether tariff refunds are issued after the Supreme Court struck down most of President Trump's global tariffs.
What the Supreme Court did was a very narrow reading of the president's authority.
Bessent made the comments while speaking on CNN State of the Union after the justices ruled the president overstepped his authority by imposing the tariffs without Congress. On this day in 2020, a young black man was killed while jogging through his Georgia neighborhood in a case that later sparked national outrage. Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed in Brunswick by 2 white men. Arrests were not made until months later after cell phone video of the shooting surfaced online. And Tampa, Florida is adding 10 new markers to its 46-mile Soul Walk Trail, highlighting Black history. The additions honor key people and places, including Claxton Manor Motel and International Longshoremen's Association, Local 1402. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the Kilo of Gold giveaway. Drawings every Thursday in February. Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the easiest drive from downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There are now 9 statues outside Crypto.com Arena in downtown LA honoring legends associated with the Lakers franchise. Pat Riley, the architect of the Lakers Showtime era in the 80s, was in town Sunday to see the unveiling of his statue before the Lakers-Boston game. Riley's statue was placed right between statues honoring Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. During Riley's 10 seasons as Lakers head coach, he led the team to 4 NBA championships and 7 NBA finals. Riley's .733 winning percentage and 102 playoff wins as a coach are NBA records. The 80-year-old Riley is in his 19th season as president and general manager of the Miami Heat. The other Lakers statues outside Crypto.com, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Chick Hearn, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and a statue honoring Kobe and his daughter Gigi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the Art of Conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Faith Not to Fall. With Reverend Terry Ford Owens in this hour. She's the General Director and President of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. An author and advocate for the church living out its calling. She is the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination. Since her election in 2017, Reverend Hord Owens' ministry actively reflects the disciples' priority of being an anti-racist church, being a movement for wholeness, welcoming all to the Lord's table as God has welcomed us. In keeping with the disciples' historic commitment to Christian unity, she serves in leadership at the National Council of Churches as the treasurer of the governing board and a member of the World Council of Churches Central Committee. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to be with you, my brother. And you know my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. It's just still hard to wrap my brain around, but you know I'm praying with you all.
I'm so grateful for that, Reverend Owens. Also joining us in this hour, Rabbi Stephen B. Jacobs has participated in a variety of important historical events. In 2001, he was awarded the Walter Cronkite Faith and Freedom Award. Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, who would go on to found the Progressive Faith Foundation, began preaching on the values of racial tolerance and interfaith acceptance in the 1960s, drawing the attention of Reverend Jesse Jackson in 1967. Reverend Jackson introduced him to Martin Luther King Jr. Rabbi Stephen B. Jacobs and King once walked hand in hand during a march for civil rights. Reverend Jackson and Rabbi Stephen Jacobs had become great friends, and Reverend Jackson began to invite him on an array of interfaith peace missions to Middle Eastern countries such as Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. He met with numerous high-level authorities, including Yasser Arafat and the leaders of the Hamas political party in 1999. He and Reverend Jackson traveled as part of an interfaith delegation to Yugoslavia to discuss the release of American prisoners of war. The mission endeavored to meet with Slobodan Milosevic, the president of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia at the time. And although some members of the Jewish community objected to negotiations with Milosevic, whom they believed to be guilty of crimes against humanity, he drew upon his dedication to improving the state of the world and participated in the missions nonetheless. It was successful in securing the release of American citizens. Rabbi Jacobs, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
Because we're beginning a new hour, I wanted to make sure that I got the full introduction of both our regular contributor, Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens, as well as Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. Reverend Owens, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs is a world historical figure in his own right. His work with Reverend Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King Jr. is absolutely legendary. Your thoughts, Terry, on this, the week where Reverend Jackson's services commence?
I think it's just so important that we recount and tell the story so that generations now who weren't old enough to recall some of these moments know and understand the comprehensive nature of Reverend Jackson's leadership. I was listening in on the first hour, and one thing that strikes me is the immense work that was done, built on building relationships in all different places, the interfaith alliances that have been built, that I, in my own ministry, my denomination, we're trying to lean into those relationships between Jews, Christians, and Muslims. And I think it's so important for you, Congressman, to have these voices speaking, not just to honor your father, but so that we can carry it forward and know and be able to tell and retell the stories for generations unborn. I'm a child of the movement and just so grateful for your work, Rabbi Stevens, just as I'm grateful for the work that I kind of grew up, from a little kid saying I am somebody to one of my first votes for president being cast for Jesse Jackson, and then being old enough with jobs and bills to be able to appreciate the power of economic boycott. I was already in Chicago, and my husband served the Salem Baptist Church as minister of music when that delegation went to Yugoslavia. And I remember Reverend Jackson coming to Salem so many different times talking about that work. So I became an adult during the years of his public life, and not just a couple of years older than Jesse Jr., but grateful for you, Rabbi Jacob. So it's a real honor to share this air with you today.
I want to share this little brief insight and then seek Rabbi Jacobs' insight before we go forward. Almost on all of these international missions, including the mission with Hafez al-Assad, the mission to Cuba, the mission to Iraq, there was no guarantee that the delegations would get the opportunity to meet with the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Jackson organized an ecumenical group of people to go to the country, and if that argued, if I can get to the ecumenical leaders in the country, I'm pretty confident I'm going to get a meeting with Assad. I'm going to get a meeting with Saddam Hussein. I'm going to get a meeting with Fidel Castro. Rabbi Jacobs?
Well, first of all, Reverend, I must tell you something. We're pretty hardcore about this world, and the challenges in the interfaith community doesn't always work in terms of our dreams and realizations. But I have to tell you something. I'm sitting here and listening to you. I have to tell you, my heart is beating, because we share a journey through Reverend Jackson, and we don't know each other except on this show. But I know you very, very well, just as I know Jesse Jackson Jr., who, by the way, not parenthetically, is going to be a great leader in the next Congress.
Yes, he is.
But I have to tell you, Reverend, I'm sitting here, my heart is beating, listening to you and growing up, and how this man influenced our lives and people around the world. He said, I need to tell you a story. On one of our sensitive missions, it was pretty tough, and Reverend Jackson turns to me afterwards. We're telling stories on the bus, and he told me a story about Muhammad Ali that I don't think is apocryphal, because Jesse was telling it. Okay, he was telling a story about Muhammad Ali was in a non-title fight, and in the 8th round, he was knocked down and he was bloody. And he went to his corner, and his corner said, "You're not going back out. You're bloody." And he just looked at them, wiped the blood off of his face, walked out and knocked out his opponent in the next round. And then afterwards, he was interviewed, and they said, "Mr. Ali, you were told not to go out. You were hurt." And he looked at him, and they said, "Why did you go out and come back into the round?" And he looked at him and he said, "The ground is no place for a champion."
Wow.
Jesse Jackson Sr. lived his life and imparted that to others. Blacks, Muslims, Jews, Asians, white, non-white. The ground is no place for a champion. That was Jesse Jackson. And I'll tell you, I cried then and I cried today.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Reverend Terry Hort Owens and Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 15.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
We got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy, and he's been married for 6 years. Videotaping his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon, honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to
Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is our regular contributor, Reverend Teresa Horde Owens. She is the first African American and the second woman to lead a major denomination in the United States, the Disciples of Christ Christian Church, as well as none other than Rabbi Stephen Jacobs is our very special guest, a close and dear friend of my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Welcome both to our show.
Thank you.
Rabbi, when you and my father began this work, the idea of a woman heading a major denomination in any tradition was unheard of. Rabbi, we've made tremendous progress under your work and Reverend Jackson's work. Can you share with us your thoughts on that progress and the significance of Reverend Terry Horde Owens heading a major denomination?
Well, Reverend Jackson Sr. had an unusual ability to translate relationships very early on. And whether it was a male or a female, he enhanced all of us to take leadership roles. So it was just second nature to him every time that I remember very clearly his relationship with Joan Brown Campbell, who was a leader, and he brought Reverend Campbell on many of our trips. And she was also the kind of individual that made tremendous differences. She met with Arafat. She secured the release of the young man, not Arafat, in Cuba, was able to get the release of Ilian Gonzalez. So he understood the power of women in being able to negotiate with others around the world. And I admired that greatly. And Reverend, we've still got a long way to go. This is still a masculine society, and there seems to be a lot more toleration than reality in terms of leadership roles. So that was one of the things that 40 years ago, going back, there were people in the anti-Vietnam movement that he embraced men and women.
That's so powerful. Joan Brown Campbell was a mentor of mine.
That's fine. Okay.
Disciple of
I knew we were related.
Yes. She was part of the Poor People's Campaign in her 80s in D.C. And the people of Cuba came to the consulate in New York right after my election, and we had a reception for her, and they came back to thank her once again. So yes, exemplary person she was. And I'm working now with Bishop Vashti McKenzie, the first woman to be a bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. She is, Joan Brown Campbell was the first woman to be General Secretary of the National Council of Churches.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad about that journey.
Yes, Bishop Vashti is the first woman of color to lead the National Council of Churches. So I was the first woman of color to lead a mainline denomination or any denomination, but fortunately I have not been the last. There have been a few others elected just within the last couple of years. So I'm so excited to know that you knew Joan. That's wonderful.
Yeah, very, very, very close. So what happened too in, the most liberal part of Judaism, which I'm a part, Reform Judaism, never had a woman reform rabbi. As a matter of fact, they didn't even let women into rabbinical school, to the seminary, until, 30 years ago. And that was an influence, I think, directly of Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jackson, his influence on different religious groups. And so women were admitted. And then finally, the reform movement elected one woman after another, like you, to be president of the Central Conference of American Rabbis. This was, we don't pay a lot of attention to that, but Jesse, that's a great question that you asked about the influence that your dad had about women and very powerful roles. Great question. And thank you, Reverend. This is it's inspiring, and people, this is the work that we do together that won't let the haters get in our way.
That's right. And I can say, as a little girl, I believed what he was saying. I don't think Reverend Jackson ever distinguished between little girls and little boys. So, when he was on Sesame Street, surrounded by children of all genders. And I think that his message was always one for inclusion. And he's the one that gave us the image of the rainbow to represent that kind of
inclusion. Exactly. So what a great thing it is for his son to be named Jesse Jackson Jr. and to live his life and to fulfill his father's promises, as I said, to be elected to Congress. But what a name to grow up with that is known all over the world. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Oh my God, I knew your dad. What he did for me, he saved my life. Thank you, Jesse Jackson Jr.
I was talking to my brother Yusuf, who walked into a restaurant called Valoy on 53rd Street in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
He went to order, I think an egg sandwich, maybe an egg and bacon sandwich. I don't think Yusuf before. But the men who used to provide my father with an egg and bacon sandwich at the same window, everybody began crying. I got on a plane yesterday in Chicago, and I flew from Chicago to Washington, D.C., where I am now, working with my Youssef on some of the plans for my father here in the District of Columbia. And from the airport to the baggage claim, people would just walk up and give me a hug and say, thank you for your and wish you condolences. The outpouring is far greater than I could have ever imagined. Now, growing up Jesse Jr. is another question, because you're trying to live in a world, Reverend Owens, of great expectations. But Rabbi, these are expectations I'm not convinced that anyone can completely fill. Jesse Jackson was just that much of a unique figure in American history. I mean, the outpouring of people on social media who've taken a picture with Jesse Jackson, and he just stopped to take a picture because they wanted to take a picture. No one does that. I tell people all the time that and especially people who are in my space, when I walk out of my house, I have to be on. So if I retreat to my home, going to a movie, or I'm not going to dinner, or I'm not walking down the street, if I want to be to my private self, it has to be at home. But people at the grocery store expect me to smile. They expect me to hug them. They expect me to check in on them and see how they're doing. At a movie theater, they don't expect me to walk by them and act like I don't see them. They expect me to pay attention. And that's because of the pouring of the heart of the life that Reverend Jesse Jackson lived. My brothers and sisters, when they walk out of their homes, wherever they are in the country, Reverend Terry Hort Owens, they have to be on. To be off is to be arrogant.
Thank you.
Yes.
To be off is to be haughty. To be off is for someone to presuppose that you're not approachable. So when you leave, you're on all day long. And if you don't meet people's expectations, then there's something wrong with you.
So the perils of public life, what the Reverend knows and what you just spoke about, is it can give us some sleepless nights. But I have to tell you something. The Reverend and I, Jesse, wouldn't trade this public life for anything. With everything that we get, all the insults and what it's about, we have a special role to play. I can't tell you over these 40 years, since 1967, how many times the Rev stopped and took a picture with a baby in a mother's arms. And those babies are now coming of age. And the greatest pictures that they're showing is my child, my baby, in my arms, taking a photo with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Very few people in the history, maybe presidents, but it's, that's adulation. This is different. Jesse Jackson Sr. was this transformative person who made a difference not only in this country, but in the world. That was very different. Presidents come and go. Jesse Jackson Sr. does not come and go. He's forever and always.
And I think that the power of that forever and always is that we can take some of that genetic tissue, whether or not it's our biological DNA or not, it becomes our spiritual, our civic DNA, with which many of us have grown up with. And I think Reverend Jackson would be the first one to say that he is not expecting Jesse Jr. to meet his moment, senior. He's simply hoping perhaps that the world that he fought for will allow Jesse Jr. and Youssef and Jonathan and Jackie and Santita and Ashley and all of them to meet their moment in that space. I think, I was an African-American studies major, a minor, and one of my final, our what we call general exams that kind of tests your knowledge of the field, was that from my perspective as a college student in the early 1980s, that I hoped that the lessons we had learned from our forebears was that we cannot be a messianic people. When Dr. King died, people were like, oh, well, who will be the next one? When Malcolm died, who will be the next one? And now people are saying, oh, Jesse is gone. Well, who will be the next one? Jesse didn't fight for a world where there could only be one. Jesse wanted us all to be able to live into our gifts and lead and do the important things. I'm so excited about Jesse Jr.'s run to return for Congress, because there's already the 17-year track record of all the things that he could do, things that his father was not in position to be able to do, but that his dad made possible. And I think that's a challenge for our generation. We can do things that were possible that our parents could not do. They don't expect us to replace them. They expect us to take that DNA and move further with it.
Well, again, I don't on a radio show talk about my campaign for Congress, because I don't want to be in an equal time situation.
We're not talking about you, Tucker. We're talking about us talking about you.
I can say it, though.
Let me say this. Whoever emerges as the next Jesse Jackson, it's a servant leader like Rabbi Stephen Jacobs and Reverend Terry Hord Owens. It's someone who understands that they're going to be on all day long until they retreat to the privacy of their private space. And then someone might even ring your doorbell then. You're going to be on. It's not the leader who gets elected and says, I got elected to the Senate, I got elected to the presidency or Congress, and then we can't find them after they've served our country in various capacities. Jesse Jackson in an airport. Listen, my dad used to joke about going to the restroom, and he would be standing right there using the restroom, and someone would stick their hand out to shake his hand. And he's like, give me a bro.
Give me a minute.
Give me a minute, bro. I promise I won't shake your hand. I have to tend to what's in front of me. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Florida's legislative session is set to end March 13th, but lawmakers remain divided on major issues like property taxes and the state budget.
Nobody cares about Tallahassee drama when they can't afford groceries or rent or their power bill or to go to a doctor.
House Democratic leader Fentrice Driscoll, who is Black, says only 8 of more than 1,000 proposed bills have passed both chambers. Some residents who lost homes in the Palisades fire are upset after receiving $31 brush clearance bills from the city of Los Angeles, even though their properties remain vacant. The notices are arriving more than a year after the fire. Black Mayor Karen Bass called the charges unacceptable, and City Councilwoman Tracy Park says she's working with the fire department to address the issue. And pastor and gospel singer Marvin Sapp is engaged to Dr. Laboris Cole after a decade-long friendship. The couple had kept their relationship private, marking a new chapter for Sapp as a widower. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Visit the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon for the Kilo of Gold giveaway. Drawings every Thursday in February. Visit Hard Rock Casino Tejon, the easiest drive from downtown LA. The excitement starts here at the new Hard Rock Casino Tejon.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There are now 9 statues outside Crypto.com Arena in downtown LA honoring legends associated with the Lakers franchise. Pat Riley, the architect of the Lakers Showtime era in the 80s, was in town Sunday to see the unveiling of his statue before the Lakers-Boston game. Riley's statue was placed right between statues honoring Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. During Riley's 10 seasons as Lakers head coach, he led the team to 4 NBA championships and 7 NBA finals. Riley's .733 winning percentage and 102 playoff wins as a coach are NBA records. The 80-year-old Riley is in his 19th season as president and general manager of the Miami Heat. The other Lakers statues outside Crypto.com, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Chick Hearn, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and a statue honoring Kobe and his daughter Gigi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu, the daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest in this hour is Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. We are Moving Mountain Mondays with Reverend Terry Howard Owens, the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Terry, welcome forward to the show. Rabbi Jacobs, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
A couple of quick observations. I can speak about my father chronologically. I can speak about him politically. I can speak about the economic philosophies that he advanced, the human rights standards constitutionally that he advanced. But my dad was a funny guy, man. And he was humorous. I have 2 funny stories to tell you very quickly. One of which was we were in New York staying at a hotel, and it happened to be the same hotel that the Dallas Cowboys were staying at. I think they were playing the New York Giants that night. And so we're waiting in the lobby, and all of these, a few of the just fans and fans and fans. And so Dad is there signing for people who did recognize him, signing, his autograph, Peace, Jesse L. Jackson Sr. And this guy walks up wearing a Dallas Cowboy shirt, and he has Dad signing it, and he says, "Man, I hope you guys beat the hell out of the Giants tonight, man. I want you guys to beat the Giants." And Dad just looks up, and he keeps signing the autograph as if he were a Dallas Cowboy. And when that guy gets his football home and he looks very carefully, that name will say Jesse Jackson. I got another really interesting story. In 1979, 1980, Ronald Reagan, who was governor of California, came to 930 East 50th Street to meet with my father. He brought his wife, Nancy, with him. And Terry and Rabbi Jacobs, Uncle Saint, who had a big afro just like Dad and a big mustache, was his immediate attendant outside of his office. And so when the governor was ushered in, and there must have been a dozen, maybe 24 cameramen who accompanied the governor, including Chicago media, to that meeting. And he sat down in the office of Uncle Saint, who raised my brothers and I and my sisters, and really was a kind of father in absentia when Dad was out to work. And Dad called him Mate, M-A-T-E. And he sat down for about 20 minutes outside of my father's office, talking with Uncle Saint, because he had a big afro and a big mustache like he was Jesse Jackson. Uncle Saint didn't say a word. He just sat there and listened to Ronald Reagan for about 20 minutes, talk about all of the things he was going to do in Washington and how he was going to, change this and change that and make America kind of great again, or whatever Reagan was talking about. And so Uncle Saint just listened to him as Reagan continued to talk. And then when he was finished, I think he was trying to solicit a comment from Uncle Saint. Saint just sat there and looked at him and said, "Give me just a moment. Let Reverend Jackson know that you're ready to talk to him." And Uncle Saint goes into my dad's office and says, "Listen, I've been talking to the governor for the last 20 minutes. He thinks I'm you." By the way, you can Google this picture. Jesse Jackson meets Ronald Reagan at Operation Push. It's Googleable. The pictures are going to pop up. Reagan sitting in my dad's office. That's the occasion that I'm talking about. And then I remember Dad coming home that night, and Dad said after his meeting with Ronald Reagan, he was convinced more than any other thing that anybody could be president of the United States. How about that? Jesse Jackson's conversation with Ronald Reagan, from Dad's perspective, who the governor was, what he stood for, what he was talking about. Reverend was so convinced that anyone could be president of the United States. I'm convinced that is more pivotal a moment because he saw a white guy who was the governor of the state, who intellectually was inferior to himself. Might have been the most convincing driver in his decision in 1983 and 84 to run for president of the United States.
It's a great story. Great story. So you bring to mind that your dad and he invited me to join him to go to the Super Bowl in Atlanta years ago. So we walk in and everybody is crowding around him and wanting an autograph, wanting a picture. What happened was we missed the whole first quarter because people would not let go of him in the hallway. Everybody crowded. They were more interested in him than the Super Bowl in the first quarter. We missed the whole damn first quarter. By the way, my wife is running for governor of California, but in her speeches, she say, "I have no desire to become president of the United States." I just want you to know that.
Well, I think that's one of the things that Reverend Jackson gave us was to understand in his own proximity that he shared what he had learned, and the very some people might have thought he had great audacity doing all of these international engagements, but I think he understood that at their heart, these folks are just human beings. And at a certain point, he found connection points, regardless of the nation, regardless of the religious tradition. And his own religious commitments allowed him to connect, even with you as a rabbi, with other Muslims. I'm convinced that people of faith are the answer to sort of restoring the civil equilibrium that we need in our society, because it comes down to relationship and respect and even humor, right? We can laugh together. I was doing a skit one year, New Year's Eve, Salem Baptist Church. My husband was the minister of music and arts, and I was head of the drama ministry. And Reverend Meeks had asked me to do some kind of solo skit. And I was in the wings on the stage, and somebody came and said, Jesse Jackson is here. Jesse Jackson is here. I thought, oh no, I'm going to go out on stage. And the whole premise of the skit was I was a lonely single young adult. Supposedly I had the pajamas, the big fluffy bedroom slippers. I had a bonnet on my head, curlers in my hair, looking really just not my best self. And I was walking out with a bag of candy, Hershey's Kisses. And, you know, the skit, it was funny as I had hoped it would be. And when I turned around and finished and had to walk back past Jesse Jackson on that dais, because we were at Christ Universal Temple, was when the church didn't have its current building. And the person who stopped and gave me a hug and laughed as hard as anyone was Jesse Jackson. And I've never forgotten that moment, because I thought I was just totally embarrassing myself in front of this great man. But he appreciated it and affirmed me. And over the years, even in the last few years in this role, I would see him in DC. He would be part of the Poor People's Campaign movement. And even when he was no longer able to physically speak, there was a point where he was standing, but I would say he smiled with his eyes. And I would just walk up to him and I say, hey, Rev, it's Terry Owens from Salem. And he couldn't speak, but he would grab my hand and hug me. And I knew that he saw me. And I've always wondered, did he remember how I made such a fool of myself with that skit? But at the time, he laughed and hugged me and appreciated it. And I was so grateful that I had not completely embarrassed myself.
That's great. Yeah.
Roland Martin.
You reminded me when you mentioned Reverend Meeks. On one of our trips, we went to the Middle East, and Reverend Meeks was on it. And your dad, every time he introduced me as the bishop. He loved calling me the bishop. And I have to tell you something, I loved it also.
I've got to go to break, but I do want to say this. Roland Martin came up to my dad one day and he said, Reverend Jackson, everyone says I look like you and I could be your son. And my dad turned to Roland Martin and said,
I have to tell you something. I couldn't say that as much as I wanted to.
He said, I might be your daddy. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs. LADWP urges everyone to always keep safety top of mind. If you see a downed wire, don't touch it. Stay far away and call 911 immediately. Downed wires can be deadly. Whether you're at home, work, or on the road, always assume the wire is live. Together, we can keep Los Angeles safe and powered. Learn more at ladwp.com/electric safety.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card. So Let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, chef. This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and our final segment on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest on this Moving Mountain Monday, our regular contributor, Reverend Teresa Hord Owens and Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, both of whom very close friends, associates, mentors, and contributors to the life of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend Owens, welcome forward to the show, and Rabbi Jacobs, welcome forward to the show as well.
Yeah.
Rabbi Jacobs, my father said in one of his Democratic Convention speeches that his grape may have turned into a raisin. He asked for forgiveness. He lived his life trying to reconcile and redeem people who made mistakes along the way. You write, in our tradition, from any place on earth, even in a prison cell, there's always the possibility of teshuva, a return.
Uh-huh.
When I had a press conference just a few short days ago, Terry, along with my siblings, I said, in the spirit of my father, that all are welcomed at his services, because Dad did not see funerals as being about the dearly departed as much as he did the living. He said, no two people can ever draw the same people to the same funeral because we all don't have the same friends.
Mhm.
And his life, Rabbi, was broad enough and big enough to include a very, very big tent. So I said, Democrats are welcome, Republicans are welcome, liberals are welcome, conservatives are welcome. Jesse Jackson would want all to come to this meeting, I believe, Rabbi.
Absolutely.
Because the opportunity for change really is amongst us. And he's calling a great meeting on March 6th and 7th.
I just want to add to the powerful statement you just made. I'm working closely with Tavis Smiley this Friday evening at Chip Murray's Church on Harvard Street in Los Angeles. We're doing a celebration of your dad's life this Friday evening and calling the interfaith community, people of all colors and denominations, to come together to celebrate your dad's life. So that is, people will pour out from all of our communities to celebrate his life, etc., in death and in life. I have to tell you, when you mentioned him and bringing him people into the tent, he was, he was like an Isaiah in the ancient world. Isaiah said, if you want to get more people to come into the tent and expand the tent, you drive the stakes deeper into the ground. Jesse Jackson Sr. was able, unlike anybody else, with Martin Luther King, to be able to drive stakes deeper into the ground so that the tent was widened. And he is more responsible than anybody, than any president, any leader, of expanding that tent and bringing us all together, even when we disagreed.
Terry, a great meeting, an opportunity to have a turning point in American political discourse. Reverend Owens?
Yeah. I think this legacy of everyone being at the table, right, and being able to stay at the table is certainly one of Reverend Jackson's greatest legacies. I remember, I think it was in 1988, he talked about, the flag is red, white, and blue, but he says, I learned as a child, red and yellow, black and white, all are precious in his sight. And he says, we must not give up. America will get better, and keep hope alive. And those words of, I serve a denomination that's 80% white, 10% Black, 6 to 7% Hispanic, 2 to 3% Asian Pacific Islander. And so everywhere I go, I have to live and embody those values, even as I know I still am called to live deeply into my own identity as an African American and as a woman, and those two things together are enough just by themselves. But I think that what's been lived in front of us and lifted up from a perspective of a strong Christian witness. Let's not forget he was the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he did everything that he did from those very strong Christian commitments that really boiled down to loving God as we loved ourselves. And he taught us to love ourselves, and he taught us to love God. And I think those are things that I certainly will hold on to and will try to live out in my own ministry.
Rabbi Jacobs, this is our second season on national radio here at KBLA Talk 1580. And for the better part of a year and a couple of months, we have asked our guests to end our program every single day with a word of hope. We have about 3.5 minutes, Rabbi Jacobs, for your
what I'm going to focus on of word of hope is what your dad did when two Jews and a Black Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman were murdered in Mississippi for trying to get blacks to register to vote. And who came out and spoke up for them? And then Martin Luther King came out and supported that. It was Jesse Jackson Sr. that stood up for Jews and blacks, and it has never ceased about people not only voting, but giving dignity. And my statement is the most inspiring art of modern history and transformation is your dad, MLK, and Mandela. God bless them.
Terry, we have about a minute and a half before we come forward. Terry,
Yeah,
you're wonderful.
I think, again, learning from one Christian minister who lived this interfaith relationship life. I'm part of an organization called Shoulder to Shoulder. It's Christians and Jews working together to work against anti-Muslim hate. And we're proud to be charter members of that group. But even the very words "keep hope alive" have theological groundings. Paul speaks often in his letters in the New Testament of hope, and hope does not disappoint. I heard you earlier, Rabbi, say that if Micah had not said, "Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God," that Jesse Jackson might have said
Absolutely.
it. And so,
Thank you.
I think
Thank you.
Every faith tradition has some form of loving neighbor. Every faith tradition leans into hope. And so we really must keep hope alive. It's not just a slogan that we throw around as a sort of the quintessential Jesse Jackson tagline. It's meaningful, it's deep, and he was serious about hope. And so I want to keep hope alive.
Thank you. Jesse, I have to tell you something. This is a great moment, a great hour. Your dad was on. He brought the Reverend and us together.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. My very special guest in this hour have been Rabbi Stephen Jacobs, also Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens. Reverend Jacobs will be joining Tavis Smiley soon in a commemoration and celebration of the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson right there in Los Angeles. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.